Roger Stone here. Every day you wait, your money loses value, but gold and silver don't follow those same rules. American Sovereign Bullion gives you access to a nationwide wholesaler network, helping you secure aggressive pricing on real physical metals. Call 844-272-2428 now to get your free gold and silver guide to learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, delivered right to your door or with a gold IRA. Visit asbgold.com. That's asbgold.com for your free gold and silver guide today.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Okay, I am now about to speak with Karen Aronian. She is an educator, a former New York City public school teacher, and a college professor. She is a mother of two and a parenting education expert. I will now speak with her where she will promise not to correct my English. Tell me what you're doing now. What is your title? Where are you?
Right. So I'm all the things that, we endeavor to be in terms of living life in this seesaw. So I'm mom, and I'm a education designer, and obviously I'm a wife, and I just caregiver of family members, and, just kind of riding the seesaw, whatever it takes that day.
What is an education designer?
So I set up optimal places for learning and play for schools, hospitality, and families.
I don't think I understand that. Can you explain it to me so I understand what you're talking about?
Absolutely. So when you come into a school or you come into a hotel that caters to young families, or you come into people's homes and you say, what's here for the kids? How is this place set up to optimize learning and creativity? So I look at spaces and I elevate them and sort of put in every kind of component in terms of how that environment is going to feed a child and really nurture their learning, but also their creativity. So,
okay, tell me about your mother.
Yeah.
What was your mother like?
Right. So my mother was a dynamo. She really, I think she broke the mold. That's how people referred to her. She was incredibly dedicated to her family, and she was a trailblazer in the art world. So she was pretty much on the scene when Warhol, Basquiat, and Haring kind of came into the collective. And she, at the time, was an art advisor who became a gallerist and did that from 1970 until she passed away literally this month last year.
Okay. I'm sure as a former New York City public school teacher, you have probably run into difficult kids. I don't know if that there's any other kind. Do you see their issues stem from their parents?
Yeah, it's hand in hand. I mean, your environment that you're creating at home is pretty much what they go forward with. It's a combination of genetics, conditioning, and your environment. And then they bring that with them wherever they go. No matter what you're given in life, the conditioning and the environment can always sort of can outscale what you were more or less given genetically. So it's incumbent upon parents.
What is so tough about being a mother? Everybody is a mother. Every wife, every woman is a mother, except for me. So tell me, what is the difficulty about being a mother, and why are kids being raised today that are rude and not grammatical and don't give a hoot about going to school and don't like their friends? Tell me what I need to know.
Well, I'm going to circle back to what you said. I think you're mothering everyone with this podcast and putting voices out there. because that's mothering, the world. Okay, so just kind of getting the good word out there, and doing what we can to up level everyone. So thank you, Cindy. And I would say that it's going wrong because it is a partnership, and it starts at home. And what you expect is what you get. So you have to, every day you rededicate yourself to the role. We all know the right things to do. Factually, we're all already AI. We are a collective of all of the parents before us and all of our ancestors, all of our generations. That's in my DNA. So I instinctually bring my best, and I go wrong, and then the next day I reaffirm what my goals are.
Okay, this is too much for me to take in. Do you have children yourself?
Yeah. So I have a 16-year-old who's a junior in high school, and I have a college freshman. So my younger is a boy, and my older is a girl.
Tell me about the difficulties you might have had raising them.
Wow. The difficulties. Well, I would say that we're always doing a little bit of course correction in general. Like, again, as parents, and I think that's really important to pivot when things are not going right. So if you're in a school and your kid's not really thriving there, you got to look for other options immediately. And it's okay to, take them out for a period of time, homeschool them, go to like a pod school or go to a learning center near you till you figure out what's best. But, so have I, along the way changed my kids' schools? Yes. And I think, a lot of parents are grappling with schools all the time. And you just need to, you need to take action.
How do you improve the child rearing situation today? There's drugs, crime, disrespect, lack of learning. They're not learning a lot of the lessons people like you and me learned when we were going to school. Where is the hope for the next generation of children, and how do you mold them?
Back to the home. It starts at home. It starts with a golden rule. And then goes very simplistically into the ABCs. And, having responsibility, contributing. So, those are sort of the core tenets. And they start so very young. I love Maria Montessori because she saw to the whole child, and, more or less that they're always contributing in the home. You have their little broom, and they know that they're capable and competent. And you set expectations and goals as a mother, as a parent, as a guardian. You have a checklist, and you endeavor to do those things every day. You're not going to hit it all every day, but you have a plan, and you return to it the next day.
Give me an experience. Give me one experience that you worked with, because everything you say makes sense, but it's not happening with the generation we're raising now. They are rude. They are not interested in learning. They are not polite. They are not getting jobs. They are on drugs. It's different. I mean, I don't have children, so I'm stupid in discussing it. But give me an experience, somebody with whom you worked.
Okay, well, in terms of where we're at today, we have a scattered approach. We do not even have a national curriculum in sort of a general sense in many subjects. So, but parents, they truly know best for their kids. And then it's creating that network and that partnership. So if you want your kids to have a faith-based learning, go towards that. If you want your kids to be doing forestry school, do that. If you really like your public schools, get involved, make them better. If you want your kids to be in an independent school, fine, search it out and see that, that education suits you for that time. But it's, again, about taking action, and it's never relying on a school to create your child. Never. because factually you're always going to balance what they're not getting there. So, for instance, my kids were in different school settings throughout their education, and whatever they ever did at any school, I was likely doing the antithesis at home to have it be balanced, or shoring it up, or doing enrichment. So if they were at school and I felt like it was too intense in terms of the workload, I was making sure that I gave them a outside education. So we were exploring in the woods, we were foraging in the woods, we were creating a garden, we were eating off of that garden. I wasn't having them, rely on a school lunch or a vending machine. I was feeding them in what I believed was going to be the best survival of the fittest going forward. So
Okay,
if it was a tech school, yeah.
I loved, I adored, I worshipped my mother. The only person in the whole world I ever truly loved with every bit of my breath.
It's beautiful.
What about children today? I don't see them adoring their mothers. I don't see that.
Oh, Cindy, first of all, I just want to break in there. I think a lot of that news maybe isn't, on the front page, but what I cherish are the letters I have, the cards I have from my kids every year, the sentiments, and that's all it's about for me. And that's how I measure my success. I'm not looking for some store-bought card or, some sort of item. But I can measure in the daily, the hugs, the love. They are sending me these, notes that tell me they love me.
Give me an experience.
But I want to also, yeah, sure.
Give me an experience so I can understand. I understand what you're saying, but I'd like to hear an experience so I can follow what you're telling me.
Sure. I would just say I'm included. I'm invited. They want me there. They seek out my counsel. I seek out their counsel. That's the best part. They're already better teachers and, far beyond my talent than I ever was. And that's what my objective was. So, for instance, my son, who's a junior, was writing something for the summer. He had to put in an application. And he asked me to read it over. And then my daughter immediately jumped on the call because factually she's a higher level of a grammatician than I could ever be. And so, we lean on each other and rely on each other. If someone's performing, we're there to capture it. We're there to give, positive, constructive feedback. So there's a lot of that, and I think that's really inculcated. And I'm sure, like with your own mother, you had this sort of reciprocity that was a back and forth exchange that really fed your relationship and your value. And so that's what I experienced. And I'll say also, as a teacher, I've had those relationships with my students. I was teaching public school in seventh grade public school in New York City. And the kids, they were, writing me notes because they're still at the adorable, sweet age where they tell you their heartfelt truth at the end of the day. And you asked me when we started this call, did anything kind of big ever happen that you had to grapple with? Yeah, I had a kid who grabbed a fire extinguisher off the wall in the middle of the class. And goodness knows, what his intention was. But to me, it was a call for hope. It would help. And I named a kid in the classroom I could rely on. I said, hey, right now, can you just kind of take over for me and fill in from last night's homework, what you got from it? Hey, so-and-so who took the fire extinguisher off the wall, let's go outside. And out there in the hallway, I said, how can I help you? I see you're really going through something. I'm here for you. How can I help you? And that was the first step. It wasn't like, let me march you down and this is we're going to take this to the next level. It was first about, I know the student and I wanted to find out what was going on in their lives. And my gosh, there were so many things going on in their lives, because most of the students I had at that time, English was not their first language, and especially for their parents. So they had their families, all the responsibilities of their family, and many times fell onto them to take care of, because they were the only English speaker in the home.
How do you deal today with someone's having a drug problem? Those are not the things we all grew up with. Maybe we had other things. Maybe we had poverty. Maybe we had other things. We didn't have this enormous problem with drugs. How do you handle that?
Intervention, immediately, and it really does take a team, because that's going to be professionals who can help in terms of what they're going through psychologically. They need, people who are experienced with drug intervention. So they need counselors that can attend to that. They need the entire family on board. That behavior doesn't spring out of a black hole, and that should have never been permissible. So that kind of education begins on day one. We have to fill our lives and our homes with good practice, but also, the books and information that keeps them away from bad influences. We have to check on them. And so, to your point, the question is how do we have to intervene? So that's a whole team approach. That's a school, psychologists, and you have to attend to it immediately. And sometimes you're going to take them out of the environment and out of that friend group where they are pressured. And there are so many places that offer these sort of out of school.
Okay, I understand. Yeah. I understand that. But if somebody is not as proficient as you and professional as you, and they're working all the time, and they're having a divorce with their husbands, and the teachers are not smart, and the kids hate one another, blacks, whites, Jews, Christians, it's not the same as what you're explaining. Maybe it was then when we were civilized. It's not the same now.
So a parent who's in a crisis situation has to take themselves and their child to social services and intervene and get help. They have to go to better counselors that are surround them. They have to go to their school counselor. They have to go to the principal. They have to seek out help. They have to go to their medical professionals. These things are not, they're accessible. They're not unattainable. Go to your house of worship. I mean, take yourself in hand. Take action. Pivot. You can always, sort of save yourself. I mean, we're talking about a broader conversation, how we're going to save society. But yes, it always comes back to the home. It comes back to the mother. It comes back to Mother Earth. We really do have to.
And what are you doing for Mother's Day?
So for Mother's Day, my favorite thing to do is to do this race called Run Like a Mother. It's put on by it's a 5K, and oftentimes, I do it with my kids. It's kind of like a standing year activity, and then we, grab food afterwards, and it's just fun. We're not in it to, for best times. We're just in it to have the experience of it and join other mothers. So that's like a national organization. It's called Run Like a Mother. I do one in Connecticut. I live on the border of New York and Connecticut, and I just go to the same one every year. And I love it, and they love it. And then afterwards, they're giving you roses, and they have tents with bagels and, all kinds of sort of great offerings from the community. So we do that.
Okay, I'm going to have to cut this in another minute. Did you ever F up? Did you ever try and do all of the smart things you are saying that did not work with a kid?
Totally. Yes, of course. That's life on Earth. One day, I thought it'd be a great thing, Cindy, and we went up to Lake Placid for the weekend, and we, went skiing, and we went skating, and I organized that we would go on what was once the Olympic bobsled ride up there. It's not a ride, it's actually, the course. but it's still active. And so we went up there, and my kids were of age and they were of height, and we went on to the course and we got suited up and they put the helmets on us and we walked over and we got in the bobsled, and I already was thinking to myself, this is a really bad idea. This is going to be insane. And it was shocking how fast, it was, it just shocked the system. It was really over the top and too much for all of us. Yeah, and there was no way off. And I said, what did I do?
What'd you do?
What I do, because one was in 3rd grade and one was in 5th grade, and I thought, I know it blew me out, so, it was extremely scary. You can imagine, it's, built for professional bobsledders.
Whatever it is you've done, you raised 2 kids, you are a success, you have a marriage, you know everything, and I thank you very much for taking the time to come on and talk with me. I've enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
very
Thank
much,
you, Cindy.
Karen.
I love
honey.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. Your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.